Screaming into the void. Just getting some stuff set up here really quickly. I don't know why I didn't think of this angle setup before. There's I have like a little side table right next to my table, which I keep my sewing machine on, and this is just such a better space layout setup thing. Before starting the live stream, I ironed my piece of purple fabric, and I also did a few small tests with thread tension for the machine. The last time I live streamed, I was a little frustrated with my machine and figuring out the right thread tension, but today it seems to be going better. So what I'm hoping to finish or do today is get the words onto the body or the arm part of the piece. And then while I do that, I'll also stuff these hands, which is a bit of a tedious process. So I'll usually do it when I'm like watching cartoons or listening to a podcast, but it's nice to sort of be able to multitask. And then hopefully I'll also be able to finish up the piece. I've been chatting with my third participant, excuse me, and I'm hoping to hand it off to her, I mean, as soon as I finish it, but later this week sometime when she's able to meet, and I can safely drop it off for her. And then today I just finished my first video with the orange object with William. William's a friend that I met at a week-long artist residency, and he is actually, William and my second participant, Mary, are both collaborators, and they do a lot of performance art together in Seattle. So it's been fun working with both of them. We've kept in touch, like sometimes we'll like Zoom during the pandemic, and Mary's also hosted like Zoom karaoke a few times, which has been really fun. So it's just nice continuing to do different creative projects with them and like try new things. But yeah, once I'm done making the purple object, I can, and hand it off to my third participant, I can focus on editing my second video. So I'll probably get that one done a little bit sooner rather than later, but I also want to try and space everything out, like, so that it holistically makes sense. Yeah, it's almost finished. I decided I'm not gonna make like a little book about the project, just because we've kind of already made a book about COVID, like one of my textile books, and maybe my next live stream, once I don't have anything to make, I can do like a tour of my past work or something. I feel like that could be fun. But yeah, instead of making a book, I am gonna make, or I'm almost done making this little wall hanging. I just need to add a border to it. So I started doing it with this pink fabric that actually used to be a pair of shorts that I would wear. I washed it though, don't worry. So I'll just add the same border. But I've just been kind of deciding if I want to do something fancy with the back or not, or like how I want to sign it. I've been trying to photograph a lot of work this week because I made a light box. So the studio is really messy right now. Definitely a lot of moving parts, but it's okay. It's good to have a lot of interest. I'm going to think about this for a second, actually. I almost embroidered something where I didn't want it to go, which would have been a pain to deal with. It is definitely possible to see and rip out things that have been machine embroidered, but it just takes a long time. And since it's just so thick and so intense, I feel like depending on the density and quality of your fabric, sometimes it can be a little unforgiving. But I mean, I also really like using and reusing materials, so I feel like those types of mark making just add more information to the piece, but these are kind of like being a little more, like these are things I'm making for the first time for people, so yeah. All right, let's do it. I was listening to the podcast You're Wrong About earlier, which kind of talks about just different high profile news stories from, like, I guess the 90s, or like things that I would hear about in the news when I was a kid but couldn't really grasp from like a critical thinking standpoint because I was a child. So right now I'm listening to them talk about the O.J. Simpson trial, and it's really interesting. They're talking about his girlfriend Paula, and just talking about their relationship and kind of like cycles of abuse. But it's really interesting. All right, let's get started. So for stuffing the hands, I make the hands so small, and that's not entirely on purpose, but I want to make it small enough that my participants can easily interact with them. But it just makes it very tedious to sew and tedious to stuff. Actually, how I'll stuff things is I'll take unused wooden chopsticks that I'll get from like takeout, since they're so long, so I can just use them as a tool to stuff. I have tried using like my scissors before, which does work, but now that I've gotten my scissors sharpened, I like don't want to risk it. But what I'll do, I have polyfill in a bag, and this is polyfill from like past projects or polyfill that I buy from thrift stores. I think I was talking about last week that I just try to, since I know that it's such a bad material, I try and use what I already have, and I try to reuse as much as possible. So just being more conscious about that. I've also been using scraps from past projects. Like I have I'll keep scraps in kind of like an old mail package or like a trash bin. But lately I've been using scraps a lot for the inside of my projects. Sort of outside of projects that I'm doing for laboratory, I've been experimenting with using scraps and vinyl to kind of develop a language for what my sculptures are made out of, or like what the inside of these creatures are kind of consisting of. So I just like everywhere in my studio I have like little piles of color coordinated scraps, or I have them filled in like little dime bags that I've gotten like buttons in or something. So yeah, kind of going back to the mess of the studio, everything's a little precarious. Oh wow, I'm so excited. The first letter came out really nice. Just like smooth, pristine. It's hard to show thread quality on a video since the details are so small, but for how annoying thread tension is, it really does make the difference. I think a lot of times when I'm sewing, like 9 times out of 10 thread tension is the problem or what fixes it. So I really do want to learn more about thread tension, or just like have that be like a more just like fully ingrained thing that I understand, because sometimes it's kind of like I want it to be intuitive. That's the word I'm looking for. A good way to kind of learn more about thread tension, which is basically just like how your top thread and your bottom thread are working together, is if you use a different color top thread and bottom thread on a scratch piece of paper, scratch like fabric, so that you can see the different ones. Like right now, I'm using orange thread for my top thread and my bottom thread. So it looks consistent, but sometimes like if you don't know much about thread tension, it's kind of hard to tell how the top thread and the bottom thread are working together. But when you use two different colors, you can see more literally the way they interact and their relationship. All right, so now I'm going to get my second word on the frame. I think I'll be able to finish this object today. Which will be good. I feel a little silly live streaming sometimes. It's definitely still new to me. It's since the words I'm choosing are so short, it is a little hard to multitask. Just because, there is a lot of prep of button clicking to do to set up the embroidery machine. So, this design will take 6 minutes. But there are plenty of designs that can take much longer and be more complicated, or can use multiple colors, which I mean, you still have to stop and change the thread for that. Everything I'm doing is pretty simple, so that's nice. Got my thumb, giving it some volume. The thumb's the easiest one. Maybe I'll do thumbs on both of them, just to give myself something chill to start out with. I could see it being fun to experiment with these being a little bit bigger, but I honestly don't know if I see myself doing this project again. Just because I don't like making things to the point where they become kind of like assembly line projects. I mean, of course, it's hard for this project to become routine since every time I give it to a participant, it becomes different. I ran out of thread, but I have more. But I mean, going back to what I was saying, I could see it being really cool to try and kind of advance this project into something bigger, like maybe collaborating with a choreographer and a video person, the director, a filmmaker. But I think it would be really interesting to collaborate with some dancers and kind of have this become a more multifaceted project. But it also it wouldn't necessarily have to be about COVID if like it could become something else, just about human connection, which of course like we're all thinking about a lot because of COVID. But it could be cool. Is all I'm saying, is to like kind of have this be a bigger thing. I thought about making these pieces with like a Velcro component so they could either stick to like clothing that the person is wearing or like an environment, but I don't know. There's like a lot of other forms and concepts that I'm interested in right now, so I'm not against taking a break from this after my residency, of course. I need to work on my posture. Where's hunch? I was thinking today how I don't use green a lot, like the color green. That's the whole thought. All day it's been in Tacoma. All day it's been pretty sunny with like these little pouts of rain. The weather just can't decide. Alright, so I got both of them. I'm gonna start these little tiny salad fingers. The sound of the thread on the machine sometimes can startle me or sound like something's going on. I still don't know this machine very well. I definitely need to sit down and take some time to understand it. One thing that kind of annoys me about the embroidery machine is, so it's a 2-in-1 machine. That's a sewing machine and an embroidery machine. So this piece, but it has the thing moving, is attached to something that you can slide in and out of the machine, which has like a computerized component to it. So when you take that out, it can be a regular sewing machine, which is great. But when you have the embroidery component in, you can't wind a bobbin. There's like, that's something you can't do when the embroidery machine component is in or attached. And I'm like, well, what if I run out of thread in my bobbin and need to wind a bobbin? I'm very lucky that I have 2 machines, so I'll just use the other one or use them simultaneously. Or I'll get ahead and just wind the bobbins before I start embroidering. But I just think that's such a silly design flaw. Like, I don't know. It just seems silly. Can't have it all. Or so they say. Lovely. I am. I'm pretty happy with how my first video turned out for laboratory. It definitely feels different than the other videos I've made just because, because I feel like I'm getting a better idea of how to give direction for the project slowly, which is something I try to balance while still keeping it open-ended. But also William, the participant, like really took the time to write out his thoughts before recording them. So it almost gives it like a smidge of a podcast type narration feel. Almost. Maybe not podcast, but yes to the narration. His answers just sound very, very thoughtful. And I totally resonate with a lot of what he was saying. So kind of like how these little everyday things that we do make us think about like what are the greater implications of this? How is this going to impact everything else that I'm doing? And that feeling of being tired. I totally get that feeling of being tired. Like, I don't know. It's just a funky time. The COVID world. I liked that he said a few things about retreating into his own inner world, which, I mean, even before COVID, I would do that a lot and could really resonate with. I mean, of course, I feel like I do that in my work a lot. I think I've been trying, one thing I've been recognizing and want to and am trying to work on more is allowing myself to be vulnerable, not just through my artwork. I think I'm a pretty social butterfly, but I've become quite recluse in our COVID times, which, you know, makes sense. But I feel like I miss forming relationships with new people and, you know, the sensation of opening up to someone new. That I feel like I've just channeled all of that energy into my work and making new things. So part of me is like, oh my God, what if I've forgotten how to interact with people? But I know I'm not the only one with that fear. And it doesn't feel like overly scary. It just feels like for how much I'm learning about how I navigate relationships and what I want from relationships, it feels like I'm not able to put a lot of that into practice, which just feels like silly. Like it makes it feel like a lot of what I'm doing is theoretical. All right, I am still, because it's I am still here for you. Doing the right words and the right words. I'm gonna cut my live stream a little bit short today, just because I have another meeting later, and I have some stuff I need to prepare for it. Just a heads up to my one viewer. Oh wow, that's so small. Like, look at that, that's so small. So silly. I just realized I think I had a dream about someone I went to college with the other night, like weeks ago. I don't usually think about dreams that I've had like a really long time ago, unless I like really remember the dream. But I barely remember this one. It just kind of like popped into my head. I have a lot of dreams where I can't remember if they've happened in real life or the dream. Sometimes. I think that's also because I'm a very active daydreamer. I think once this word ends, I might sign off. So I can eat a little snack for my next meeting. But I will post when this piece is finished. And I look forward to sharing it with you all soon. So, see you, Kristen. I'll talk to you later. All right.